My name is Chris, and in this particular video I'm going to be making a season 3 to 7 Star Trek The Next Generation red fabric. It's been a few months since I've made a video. Last one was the 2-part series making this guy right here. If you want to check that out, it should be in one of my playlists on my channel. I will show you some how-to things, but most of that stuff is in the previous video. I'll try to remember what I didn't go over, and I'll try to more focus on it on this one. This one's going to be done a lot of leftover stuff that I bought for other projects or extra stuff that I've had laying around. So basically it's going to be essentially on the cheap. My next project won't be like that. So right now we have the pattern for Taylor's Gone Wild, which is I keep it in either shoe boxes or already been cut out. I've actually used this pattern to make, since it's my personal pattern, it's hard to count, maybe 10 to 12 jumpsuits out of this thus far. That's why I know it fits me, and we're good with that. Try to keep everything together, because with different size patterns, but they all look the same, just make sure you label your stuff. It's a good tip there. And then I have my leftover command fabric from years just of accumulating and making different versions of these jumpsuits. And then we have the Taylor's Gone Wild piping for the collar, specific to the Mandarin collar. And then I have some leftover black that I never used. Pretty much all I'm going to need for this. Some notions. I have a bunch of zippers and interfacing and lining, stuff like that. So without further ado, we'll get started on that. First off, this fabric is a jumbo spandex. It's a thicker type of spandex, but here's a swatch card of a piece from jumbo spandex from a little darker. I think this is more akin to the later season jumbo spandex, and earlier seasons those are just a tad bit darker, but that's what it looked like. I'll show if the camera's catching that. Alright, so the one scrap fabric I had got 4 of the 5 pieces on there. With these sleeve pieces, they're folded over on themselves because I gotta cut them twice, and it's just easier to get the consistency. But this one piece here, the back, center back, I was not able to fit on this scrap piece of fabric I had, so I'm gonna grab some more. But I just want to go over a little bit on the grain of the fabric. A lot of the jumpsuits they had to stretch up and down so that the cross grain would be vertical. So what I like to do, length and shorten line, lines up with the ribbed length of the fabric here. So I try to make sure everything's lined up and even. So I'll go here to here. This is the end of the fabric, so you don't really need to worry about that. But if it's like sitting in the middle of the fabric, that's how you, because this one's a little angled, so you're gonna have to angle it the right way. So I'm gonna cut all these pieces out, get a new piece for this, and let's move on to the black. All right, now that the red is all cut out, it's actually a new day for me, but we're gonna start cutting the black fabric. We have the 4 leg pieces, 4 side pieces, 2 crotch pieces, the 2 yokes, the front and back, and the collar. Seems pretty simple. I've done this a bunch of times. Just make sure you cut your pieces as the pattern says. Any adjustments you have to transfer to the piece adjacent to it so you don't have any issues. Alright, I've gotten everything all situated with the sleeves. I pressed them all out. Came out pretty good. I was waiting on some fusible interfacing to add to the collar piece, even though that's 2 steps down the line. But I figured I'd go over that process here. I got my new fabric over here. I'm going to fuse it to the collar piece itself. Washed out here. I did not make the mistake I did on the previous jumpsuit I made back in March, but it was moving along pretty good. Next up is the invisible zipper, which I'm gonna probably lay it out on that. And then I'll document that process again, even though I did do it in the gold version. You can check that video. I'll put the link in the description below. But I'll redo it and maybe go over it a little bit better. Who knows? But anyway, figured I'd give you an update. Got the fusible interfacing, and we can be off to the races with the collar now. So you have this collar here with the piping on the edge here. It's supposed to match up in the front, and I was having a problem where this piping cord wasn't lining up or wasn't reaching the spot it needed to on both sides. It was almost like the collar was too short, which could have been the case, or it could have been the case that one of these pieces was cut too big, or the seam wasn't as big as it needed to be. But a simple solution would be is to cut a new piece and put the cord on your new extended collar. But I had already trimmed off the ends of the collar piping cord, and I don't have any extra of it. So instead, what I did to give myself a little length in the collar, or at least to where the piping goes, I basically moved it pretty much to the edge of the collar. It's supposed to be 3/8 of an inch away from the edge, and here it's almost touching the edge. I did that on both sides, and that gave me just enough room to hit the mark where I have it here. So when it folds over. All right, now I'm going to be sewing the collar on to the actual jumpsuit itself, and it's just a 3/8 inch seam across the edge here. I usually take the clips off when I pin it together, but in this case, it kind of helps prevent, not entirely, but because it's a curve, it might bunch up and you might get little puckers here. So I use the clips to kind of mediate that as best as I can. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this on. It's 3/8 inch with seam allowance. It should be pretty straightforward. And this will be the last piece that's technically challenging. The rest is going to be pretty straightforward to finish this off between the hand sewing and the just the long side seams. So I started on that. All right, let's see how we did on the first pass. Hopefully this will be the only pass I go through. We're looking for no puckering on the collar. You'll know right away if you got any of those. It's pretty good there on the back. It's pretty straight. All right, everything looks in order. I did not stitch through the piping cord at the edge as instructed. I just don't know if I got close enough. If that's going to be an issue or not. I guess I can do a couple more stitches just to get it just a little bit closer. I think I'll do that. I already did the clipping, but 2 inches in, you're going to clip both allowances here, and then 1 inch in, you're only going to clip the yoke material, not the collar itself. And then that's going to help you when you flip the collar up. This part's going to stay down. This part's going to get pressed upwards. And then if I just hold the allowances over like this and turn this around, you're going to see that where you clipped it here, you're going to fold that downward, and that's going to help that cover up that right there. So that zipper and that sight line is going to continue on through the collar. Obviously, I'm going to be adding the lining next, but that's the whole thing I was trying to figure out, and then obviously make sure that this was going to line up on the other side. Okay, so I've sewn on the lining for the collar. I just want to go over another little detail. It's not really mentioned in the online PDF or tutorial. So before you install the lining, you're going to press up the seam 3/8 of an inch. That's when you fold it over, it'll tuck on and you can hand sew it down. But when you have the lining right to the edge here, it's folded up here. You don't want to sew that fold upward. You want to keep it down, but then you also want to sew it all the way to the edge. You're going to stop where it folds up so you can have that ability to adjust when you do flip everything over. So just a little detail there. All right, I've gone ahead and sewn in the collar lining and pressed it down. I clipped it and did all the prep work to make it look right. So this is what it should kind of look like once it's everything's all situated. I do have the lining in. It's pinned in right now. I'm going to hand sew it along this edge here. And the pressing upward of the lining before putting it in was just to help you secure it correctly without any raw edges sticking out. You're going to clip right here so that this sticks down, going inside with the edge of the collar here. And once this is down, we're going to pin this, we're going to sew this all the way down, and then what's going to happen here is this folds over here, and this is going to fold over like that to cover that piece up as well. Obviously that clip will be gone, but when you spin it around, that's how it should look. Pin that down, or stitch that down at the hook and eyes. That should be it for this collar portion. There's a lot of little detail points here. I'll do a time lapse of me hand sewing it, because I know I didn't show it in the last build of this type of jumpsuit. So that being said, I'm gonna get the hand sewing out and all right, so now we're on the home stretch of this jumpsuit. I did the left side, this is the right side. It transitions from the black to the red. The red's gonna be a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and the black portion was 5/8. So just be careful when it does that transition to do that, or else your arm is gonna be a little too tight. So here I go with the final bit of the sewing on this. So that does it for the 2 side seams of the entire jumpsuit. This takes a little while to pin and get everything all lined up. And once you do, it's pretty much a straight shot. And just be careful with your seam allowance, and it should come out pretty good. All right, so we're just about done with the main sewing process. I've went ahead and pinned the crotch seam from the bottom of the heel all the way to the other heel. It's quite a long seam, as you can see. Once that's done, the next thing to do is we're gonna hem the pants, hem the wrist and sleeves. That'll pretty much be it. Oh, I gotta have the stirrups and the Velcro patch for semantics. All right, so we're on the final few steps of this TNG late season jumpsuit build. It came out pretty great so far. Only 3 more things left on it. We got the hemming of the sleeves and the pants here. as well as the stirrups need to go on. In addition, I'm going to add a piece of Velcro, like I did on my previous one, for the resin badge to go on there. There's a lot of debate on, oh, people prefer magnets, but no one's ever made a convincing argument, and I've done the Velcro with the badge for the last, say, 10 to 13 years, and I've had zero issues, while people who have magnets always have layered issues, from it slowly working its way down to being really heavy and kind of pulling on a cheaper material, or it's spinning or not being put in the original place. Even if it is really strong, people say, oh, but if you get a really strong one but it's in a different spot each time, or if it falls off, it still can happen. So for me, the Velcro, it's never been pulled off. Never even, I've had a few times where I've gotten brushed against really hard and then it stays right where it needs to be. It's always in the same orientation, which is why they filmed it for, used it for filming for 8 hours a day. So anyway, we're almost done. I'm just going to show that last bit, and we'll do the final test fit. And so right now I am blind hemming the bottom feet of the jumpsuit. I'm using the machine on this one. It's black thread. It's easy enough to do with the machine, and if I can avoid hand sewing, I will. You could also hand sew it if you want, but this process is easy and it looks great for me. And but on the sleeves, they're small, so I can't quite get it around the machine or do the blind hem. Maybe there's a special machine that can do it, but this one can't. So I'm gonna hand sew this right here. Just get the same color thread, and we're just gonna zigzags and basically gonna hold it down, little pinches you'll see on the other side. But other than that, it'll look pretty clean. So the sleeves are all done. It came out all great. Let's see how it looks on the other side. Good, everything's should be. Those slight little puckers, but that's supposed to be there. But yeah, looks great.